Hey guys, welcome to the Thought Stream. Today we're going to be talking about the UFC 261 main card. Oh my god, dude, this card was insane. This card was nuts from the first fight to the last fight. It was just crazy outcome after crazy outcome. I mean, the prelims had some bangers. Honestly, like there were some really good fights, but each fight in the main card just had an insane, crazy outcome. I didn't see any of them coming. Well, except for the Shevchenko fight. I saw that one coming for sure. But the way all the other fights went was a complete surprise to me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. None of these fights on this card went past round two. All the fights on the main card were stopped within 2 rounds. That's how fast paced and crazy these fights were. So the first fight we got is the Lionheart, Anthony Smith, veteran to the game. He's been in it for a long time, and he was facing Jimmy Crute, and it was a light heavyweight bout. It was good, both sides. Anthony had that jab on point. He was just jabbing him the whole time. His face was swollen up within a matter of 30 seconds. Um, Crute was throwing those leg kicks. He was throwing those leg kicks to Smith's left calf. Actually, it was his thigh. Smith even mentioned at the end of the fight that if he kicked to the calf, it would have been a different story. But yeah, it was a good strike fest. They were both banging. Towards the end of round one, Smith threw his first leg kick. So he hadn't thrown any up to this point. Crute was throwing all the leg kicks. Smith threw one leg kick and caught him right at the knee, like right behind the knee, right at the tendon, hit a nerve or something, and Crute's leg just went limp. He couldn't even walk. He goes down to the canvas, and he manages to scramble, and as Smith goes for the finish, he lunges in and gets a takedown. So he got a takedown on Smith. That was honestly his saving grace. He probably would have been finished in round one if not. But he got the takedown. Round ends. He limps back to his chair. His corner's trying to, figure out what's going on. He's sitting there. He's trying to collect himself. Round two starts. He gets up, and he's still shaking. He still can't walk on that left leg. His ankle's collapsing. He just couldn't walk. He couldn't do it, and he's trying to put on this face for the doctor and for the ref and everything. But doctor stoppage. They said he couldn't go on with one leg, and that's fair. I think that's fair. And who knows how much more damage could have been done to it. So it was probably the doctor stoppage. I know it was frustrating for him, but right decision. Crute says after the fight that his plan would have been obviously to shoot for the takedown since he knew he couldn't walk. So he was done. He was done for. It would have been over for him. So Lionheart takes the dub. It was a good win. I love Anthony Smith, man. I've always liked Anthony Smith. He's a good fighter. So that was the first fight. Second fight was another banger, and by banger I mean one hit, one shot. That's all it took, and it wasn't even from the guy opposing. The dude took one kick and took care of himself. So Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman. They fought back in like '09. They fought a long time ago. It was like one of Uriah Hall's first fights. Chris is obviously an ex-middleweight champion. He's got a hell of a legacy. So the crazy thing about this is Anderson Silva's first loss came from Chris Weidman, and his last loss came from Uriah Hall before he retired. So there's this little legacy going on here in the background that I think is really interesting. And what's even more interesting is the way this fight was stopped. I'll get into it. So Anderson, I just want to preface this really quick. Back in the day, Anderson Silva threw a kick at Chris Weidman, and his shin snapped in half. Now, you can look it up. It's viewer discretion. It's fucking gruesome. It's crazy. But in this fight, the same exact thing happened with Weidman. he threw one kick at Uriah Hall at the start of the first round, and his shin snapped in half. He hit him right under the knee, right at the thick part of the bone, and his shin just snapped. It was insane. You see in the slow mo, it shows him throw the kick, and then obviously it's his leg turns into a fucking L. He took the L, and his leg turned into an L. And it fucking sucks, And Uriah Hall was so disappointed. He sat there at the end of the fight and did his classic little get on the knees and do his little ritual of flexing and shit. But he didn't take any pride in what happened. He wanted to get his revenge on Chris from their first fight, from when he lost to him on their first fight. So the whole time, you could tell he was somber, he was upset, and he handled it like a champ. The post-fight interview, Uriah, he was just a class act about it, wishing his family well, saying if he can come back from it, that he owes him this fight, and he didn't want it to end like this, and he didn't want that to happen. So he wished him the best. But, man, that was a gruesome, brutal fucking leg snap. I was sitting there in awe for like 5 minutes. Like, my hand over that ridiculous, cliche when people are in awe when their hands are on their face. That was me, but, for real. For 5 minutes, I was sitting there. I just didn't expect it. One kick, and that was it. And you see in the slow-mo replay, he doesn't even react to it. I don't know. I mean, I guess the signal hadn't traveled to his brain yet, but you could see his leg snap and his face is just still he's like, oh, I just went in for a kick. Fight's going great. He looked focused, and his leg had been snapped for what seemed like a good second or two, and his face didn't even react to it. But when he reacted is when he set it down back on the canvas, and it buckled even more. And I can only imagine how that must feel. Oh my God, I can only imagine. In real time, I didn't even realize what had happened until it just took me a second to process it. But he came down on it, and just the bone going into your nerves and into your skin and through your muscle, and oh my God, and your fucking tendon. It's just gotta suck. So he was carried out on a stretcher. He's stable. He's going to get surgery done today, I think. It's the day after the fight. I think he's getting surgery today. But my God. That was a tough one. So obviously Hall took that dub. Man. Third fight. My girl, Shevchenko. That's my favorite female fighter. She's awesome. I love her. She was facing Jessica Andrade, for the flyweight title. She's owned that division. She continues to own that division. Nobody can really touch her. She's unstoppable. I really want to see her and Nunez go again, and I know everybody says that, but I do think it's warranted. Everybody says that she won the second fight. I happen to agree. Amanda started to come back a little bit in the fifth round, but for the most part, she was getting picked apart. So I do want to see Shevchenko go at her again. I know she's a little light for bantamweight, but she just has no competition at flyweight. She has no competition there. She's a killer. She owned this fight. She pieced her up, just out-wrestled her, which everybody was saying Andrade's only hope was to wrestle, clinch her up, put her against the cage. But Shevchenko proved once again that she has no weaknesses. She out-wrestled her. She clinched her up. She held her down. She slammed her. I think she got 7 out of 7 takedowns or something like that. Andrade just had no answer for her. And the odds for this fight were the closest they've been in a Shevchenko fight for a while. So people, kind of thought Andrade had a chance. No. Shevchenko got her in the crucifix. In the middle of round 2, I think it was later in the round of round 2, she crucifixed her and just started, held her arm there, and with her right arm just dropping bombs on her, punching her, dropping elbows. She got all bloodied up, and that was it. That was it. The bullet takes another dub. No surprise there. She's like a real life Android 18. This chick she's insane. I love her. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it. She just did her thing and still. Fourth fight, you got strawweight champ, well, ex-champ, Zhang Wei Li against good old Thug Rose. This fight, I was standing up at the end of this one. This one was crazy. I like them both. I do like Zhang, but I got a soft spot for Rose. I've heard her on podcasts. You know, if you know her story, all the ups and downs with her, and she's just a sweetheart. I know her nickname is Thug Rose, but she couldn't be any further from a thug, man. I mean, she's a thug in the ring, in the octagon, excuse me. She, she's the best. She's awesome. So, I actually thought Zhang would take this. I did, but it turns out she didn't. Turns out she couldn't handle Thug Rose Namajunas. Honestly, not a whole lot happened in this fight. Rose took care of it pretty quick. She went in there and caught her with a kick, a perfect kick to the jaw. Put her on her ass, put her down, and then she kind of sat up on her ass. But you could tell she was confused. She didn't know where she was. She was out. And then Rose, you know, went down and finished it with some hammer fists and took care of it. She was crying at the end. You know, I was starting to tear up a little bit because her story is just insane. You know, she's a two-time champ. She used to hold this title. Now she holds it again. Yeah, I'm really happy for Rose. It was awesome. Now, Wei Li, after the fight, she was pissed. She was walking around. The officials were trying to, like, coax her to the side, and she was throwing, you know, batting their hands away and, like, stomping around, throwing a tantrum, and saying that it was an early stoppage, which I don't think it was. I mean, you could see, everybody could see. And it seemed like she did realize upon replay that it wasn't an early stoppage, but still in the post-fight interview, she said that it was an early stoppage. So she was a sore loser about it. Obviously, she'll be back. She's young. She's got that dedication. I don't know what they're going to do when she gets back over to China. They don't tolerate failure over there. They don't, you know, it's all state sponsored and everything, and they want to put out that they're the best. Obviously, like the Russians are the same way. Most, for whatever reason, most communist societies are. It's like they want to put out to the world that they're the best, whether it's militarily, but like the fighters represent them in a militant kind of way. It seems like, and I'm no expert, but you know, it's whatever. Obviously, I'm not going to stick up for China. They got a ton of bullshit going on over there. But that's a whole nother train of thought going off into the weeds. We're talking about fights. It kind of offshoots from what I'm talking about with her attitude. It didn't sit right with me, the way that she took it. Obviously, she's going to be upset. And obviously she'll be back, but she didn't take it well. She didn't take it well. We'll see what happens. I'm sure they're going to run it back. So just beautiful win by Rose. Good kick to the face and shut her lights out. It was awesome. Now on to the main event. You got Usman and Masvidal. You know, I didn't think it was going to go the way it did. I did not think it was going to go that way. Obviously, they're fighting for the welterweight championship. And honestly, I think George should have put that BMF belt up. He can't just sit on that forever. You know, you beat Diaz once and what? You're the fucking BMF for life. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of stupid anyway, but I don't see him as the BMF after taking this loss. I love George. Don't get me wrong. You know, I really do like George. I like his style. He's got a hell of a record. You know, he's a warrior through and through. He's got the heart of a warrior. He's got the mindset of a warrior. But Kamaru Usman is just, he's on another level. He's on another, and the crazy part is he was getting booed hard. He was getting booed hard out there. People still don't respect him for what he does. It's a little disheartening, honestly, but obviously people love George. He's, you know, they call him the people's champ, the people's fighter, all that shit. So I get it. You know, people love George. They didn't give Kamaru his due. And in his victory, Kamaru was very gracious. You know, they were both respectful towards each other at the end there. But Kamaru was talking about how George elevated him, and you know he's got his dad up there and his daughter, and it's just a family affair. And it was a really good display of values, and I don't think people give him the respect or credit that he's due. Anyway, that's after the fact. The fight itself was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was back and forth. You know, George was landing. Kamaru was landing. Kamaru got a takedown. I think he just got one takedown, if I remember correctly. But then George was actually able to scramble and get up out of it, which I was actually surprised about because, you know, with Kamaru's wrestling, it's pretty set in stone that he's the better wrestler there. But George was actually able to scramble and get out. And George was taking some shots, and he was playing these games, and that was his downfall. He was playing these games, sticking his tongue out, you know, shaking his head like, "Oh, you can't do nothing to me." Talking before the fight about how Kamaru's got pillows for hands and all this shit. He was playing too much. He was playing too much. The round ends, second round begins, and he's still taking shots. He's obviously dishing it out too, but he's taking these shots. And then picture perfect, like out of a fucking movie, like the final scene of a movie, Kamaru just connects with him, just connects with the right hand, hit him right in the button, and you see sweat and spit go flying. It's almost like it happened in slow motion, but it was real time. George didn't know where he was at. He was asking his corner what the hell happened, but boom, right on the button. You know, you could see it. You could see the spit fly. You could see the sweat fly. He just goes down. But what's crazy is he actually kind of got up a little bit, but Kamaru's hammer fist is what put him away, and then he was out cold after those hammer fists. It couldn't have been a better right hand. It could not have been a better right hand. I was impressed. I didn't think Kamaru, his striking is getting better and better. It's getting better and better. I didn't expect him to come out with a knockout like that, especially considering George has never been knocked out before. So it's a little bit of a surprise. It's a little bit of a different side of Kamaru that we haven't seen before. It was just a hell of a knockout. And like I said, both fighters handled both respective victories and losses in grace. And at the end of the day, George is still a hell of a fighter. He's going to have to work his way back up, though, if he wants another shot. I don't know. Kamaru is just an animal. He's a monster. You know, the Nigerian nightmare, you know, whatever. And it goes to show. It does go to show. You know, George St. Pierre, still my favorite fighter of all time. Still, in my opinion, the GOAT. Kamaru's coming for it, you know. If he gets some more title defenses and he gets a little bit longer of a legacy, there's an argument down the line for him to be GOAT. And I hate to say that because St. Pierre is just, he's my favorite fighter of all time. Doesn't even come close. Usman is coming up, and he's coming up on that title. He is. You can't deny him that. You can't deny him that. When you have that GOAT conversation, there's a couple names that get thrown out. Obviously, you know, George, John, Khabib, Kamaru's gonna have to be inducted into that conversation at some point. You know, it's just a reality of the situation. So, all in all, man, this card was insane. Like I said, no fight went through 2 rounds. It was over before I knew it. You know, nobody went the distance. I definitely feel like I got my money's worth. This was insane. I loved it. I love all these cards. Obviously, some are more disappointing than others, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, I thought it was awesome. I really liked it. If you could see a couple fight replays, I'm sure there's some clips floating around. Check them out, man. Just watch yourself with that shin snap, and actually the Crute injury was also disturbing. The way his leg just kind of jellied, like his ankle was jelly and his knee was jelly, like that was also kind of disturbing too. So watch out for that as well. But yeah, look up some highlights if you haven't seen it. Highly recommend looking up some of the fights from this card. Expert level display all around. It was awesome. And that's basically my thoughts for this thing. So if you like this review, go ahead and like, comment, do whatever, subscribe if you want. If you want to see more reviews, more content like this, I'll be doing more cards. I'll be doing movies, podcasts, all that stuff. So if you like it, stick around. And I'll see you guys in the next one.